And if you've ever wondered what it takes to be a designer, listen to Feroze as he talks about his experiences in the Big Apple. Welcome back. Thanks for staying with me. Feroze is a promising young Indian-American designer in New York. He has his own design studio in Jersey City's Grove Street. But for now, he continues to work in the garment industry on Fashion Avenue. Feroze is the son of a Tamilian mother and an Assamese father. His clothes are rooted in the East, but the practicality and clean lines of the West are indelibly stamped in his style. Let's take a look at some of his clothes before we hear from the young man. This event took place at a charity ball at Bombay Palace. Here it is.
The idea is I try not to show Indian fashion as a trend because trends come and go, but Indian fashion, as most people already know, is always in history it's been so old, and I hate to see that whenever American designers show it as a trend it just comes and goes. So I'm trying to push Indian fashion in the New York fashion scene, but I'm trying not to make it like a trend. I like to sort of like try to give them in a Western silhouette and let them see that the Indian fabrics look good on Indian clothing, but at the same time looks nice even on Western silhouettes. And it's wearable. They can wear it to work, they can wear it to an evening at the Lincoln Center events, something like that. Just try to fuse it in. So the most from the show, if you notice, the show started out with more Western silhouettes and then moved into Indian, but all the fabrics were just purely Indian.
Right. And how successful have you been? Because, apart from seeing Mehendi on Madonna, and a little bit of midriff on
Right.
some of the actresses going into the Oscars or whatever,
Right.
we've hardly seen anything genuinely Indian, have we?
Right. Well, it's very difficult because we have to really push it out there a lot. And I'm not the only Indian designer in New York that is trying to push Indian fashion, so to speak, in the New York scene. But it's very difficult to try to educate the customer. So when I have people coming to my design studio and then they say, when I try to sell them something, they say, oh, but we want it to look like this, or we want it to look like
Right.
Armani. So I try to play a gentle soft sell with them and give them what they want, but at the same time, push what I want also. So I use a lot of Indian fabrics, whether it be the outer shell or the lining of the garment. And I let them know that it's a pleasure to wear something that is not polyester and all the stuff, because I use a lot of raw silk, raw cotton, some khadi's also been involved. So that way, they tend to like it. You have to always, give them a little bit of a taste of Indian fashion from besides watching all the Indian movies and all the stuff, because everybody tends to get caught up in the Bollywood scene, so they're like, but wait a minute, we think that way is how fashion is. But a lot of Indian designers in Delhi or Bombay, and even the ones in New York, disagree with the Bollywood fashion because it's movie fashion.
Right.
It's a little bit different from the normal fashion scene where people, when they go to parties or weddings or anything like that, so.
Why did you want to get into fashion? Did you grow up playing with dolls?
No. Good question. My mom is a designer, but she's not a fashion designer per se. She makes salwar kameezes, she designs saris, she does paintings on saris. She's been doing that ever since before she got married, actually. And I grew up in that kind of household where I saw a lot of start. And then the other one was when I was in high school, junior high actually, an uncle of mine from the US visited, and he saw all my fashion sketches and all the stuff in my room, and he said, one piece of advice, you should work for a designer and see how it is. Don't work for your mom, work for a real designer. So I took like 6 months or so off, and I went to Delhi. And it took me 2 days of phone calls, and I just wanted to work with only the best. And I told myself, if I work, I'll work with the best and nobody else. And at that time, Rohit Bal, and still today, I think, is the best designer India has to offer as far as international-wise, because his qualities and all.
What did Parsons School of Design teach you?
Parsons was very good.
Because a lot of Indian students do
A lot of
study there.
Indians go there. Parsons is very well known for its design philosophy. That means it allows the student to bring out his or her inner feelings on how a woman should look or how a man should look in clothing. And it also goes very intense into the history of fashion, may it be American or European fashion or even Indian fashion, up to the independent study. And what I learned mostly from Parsons was how to really design quality stuff, how not to do things which are available at local stores. I mean, when you do something, you either do it well or you don't do it at all. So they were very strict. My teachers and everybody was very strict. And I had to fight for my A's and B's because I'd always get standard C's. They'd like say, no, you have to fight. You have to really design better than you're already doing. Mm-hmm. So I think Parsons really put a very good sense of discipline into me.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much, sir.